Hello and welcome to On The Bench, the fortnightly podcast for scale modelers by scale modelers. Available on iTunes, Stitcher and all good podcast apps. While you're there, don't forget to mark us as your favourite so that you never miss a show. Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 41 of On The Bench. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at production line modelling. You've probably got 4, 5, 6 or even 7 kits of the same type sitting in your stash. So why not pull them out and assemble them factory style? We're going to be having a close look at that. And of course, our usual what's new in the modelling world. Fine Scale Modeller is proud to be the official supporter of On The Bench. Fine Scale Modeller is one of the world's most recognised modelling magazines and can be found in all good newsagents or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, you can go directly to their website, www.finescale.com, and subscribe to get the magazine home delivered, as well as access to their digital edition. And a huge round of applause for our latest Patreon supporter, Jim Meeks. If you'd like to be like Jim and help support the show, you can do so by going to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 upwards. Your contribution will help cover the operating costs and are greatly appreciated by the crew. And hello and welcome to the latest episode of On The Bench, and in the studio I have got Ian. G'day Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day listeners.
And of course got Julian.
Hello.
And we've got a special guest tonight who's going to be helping us with our subject on production line modelling, Steve Keogh. G'day Steve.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, no worries at all. Glad you could make it at last. Steve got lost coming into the studio. Good.
Google Maps didn't work.
Oh, well, never
And
mind.
it doesn't help that Dave lives in a rabbit warren.
That's true too. We're here, or you're here now, and that's all that counts. So, guys, what have you been up to since the last episode? I'll start with you, Ian.
Not very much. It's been a bit too warm in the unit to be doing much modelling, but I did manage to get the exhaust port done on the Shikaku and did all the park benches. Funnily enough, the Shikaku's got about 16 park benches.
Park benches, as in, seriously?
That you can sit on, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Japanese Navy is strange.
Oh, yeah. They thought of everything.
Why stand when you can sit?
But on one good note is I've actually managed to empty one photo etch fret.
Yay!
But I still want to put paint on this thing so desperately.
Yeah.
It's been months and I still haven't put paint on anything.
Well, I've got paint in my belt. I'll talk about that after we get round to Julian. We'll see what Julian's been up to.
Not much in the way of modelling. There's a lot of procrastination on that front, but I have been doing a bit of photography type stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, not much really. I mean, there's a lot. You sort of go to do something and then, I need one of those. Cool, let's go shopping. There's a bit of that.
Yeah,
So spending money.
Yeah. It's a healthy. What's the term for it? Retail therapy.
Retail therapy it is indeed.
Yes.
It doesn't work just for women, it also works for guys.
It works very well for guys.
Oh, yeah.
Steve, first time on the bench.
Yep.
What have you been doing since we haven't seen you before?
Okay, well, as you might have heard on the grapevine,
Yep.
so many kits,
Yes.
so many decal sheets,
Yes.
so many colour schemes. If I'm ever going to get my stash halfway finished, I have to do 4 kits at a time.
Oh,
Minimum.
Okay. That sounds exciting. That sounds perfect for what we're going to talk about. So I'm not going to let you talk any more about that because we're going to get into it straight after we've had a chat about what's new. But before we get into that, what have I been up to? Well, I've stuck to my New Year's resolution and not bought any new kits at all so far, which is a big thing for me. But I have bought a tool. I love my tools. And I purchased one of those Sharpen Air gizmos for your airbrush. You know how you bend your needle? So this is a little gizmo that it's got 2, 3, 4 steps. You just shove the needle in and rotate the needle. And it's got a stone set inside in a plastic case that automatically sets the right angle for the airbrush, for the needle. And you do that about 20 times, and put it in the next hole down 20 times, and just give it a final polish off and a little bit of
Fine emery cloth.
yeah, that's it, and it comes out perfect. And I've tested it, and it works really, really good. So, best $50 I've spent in a long time.
I reckon you could probably hire that out.
Well, that's not a bad idea. I'll give it to you guys for mates rates. How's that?
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Also, I've got a couple of books because I'm a real book nut and I love my books. I think I spoke a couple of episodes ago that I've got these coming in anyway. But it's 2 books by Patrick G. Erickson. The first one's called Alarm Start, and it's about northwestern Europe from the Battle of Britain to the Battle of Germany, from the German fighter pilot's experience. And it is just it's stunning read. I just can't not put it down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reading about the northwestern European theatre at the moment, and I've just got past the Battle of Britain. And what staggers me is that in all the interviews he had with the German pilots, none of them ever considered they lost the Battle of Britain.
They still don't.
No, right up to they said, no, we just stopped.
Yep.
Just walked away and, decided we'd go somewhere else and the next sort of conquest. But it just staggers me.
Mm.
And also it's amazing to read how much the Luftwaffe really suffered in losses through the Polish and into the French campaign as well. It cost them a lot of aircraft, and they really sort of went into it. The pilots themselves weren't so much exhausted, but the organisation, the structure was exhausted. And the Germans were very finicky about their aircraft too. They wouldn't do a lot of sort of field work like the Western Air Forces would on an airbase. They'd pack the whole engine up or aircraft up and send it back to the factory to be reconditioned, good German precision, and have it sort of shipped back. They sort of...
refurb.
They didn't get really deep cycle sort of maintenance at the airfield level. And, of course, loading all these aircraft up and shipping them back to Germany to get sort of reconditioned and everything would have put a huge strain on the whole system. So
Definitely.
So it's a really good read. I'm thoroughly enjoying that. Thoroughly recommend it. And I think he might be coming out with another book about the Luftwaffe in the Middle East too. So that's something to keep your eye out for.
European campaign.
Yeah. So again, the author is Patrick G. Erickson, and it's called Alarm Start. And the other one is called Alarm Start East, about the war in Russia. The other 2 things I got, and I did get 2 models, but they were gifts.
They were gifts.
So who have I got to thank for this, Ian?
Peter.
Oh,
Peter.
Peter.
Miller. Yep,
Okay.
From the club.
Well, thanks, Peter. I've got a 1/44th scale Type 2 Mark 12 Japanese flying boat, which looks, for those of you who don't know, it's very much like a Sutherland, I guess.
Yep.
And also in 1/144th scale, I have a F-117A stealth fighter, which that's going to be a cool little kit to build. So in 1/144th scale, Dave scale.
Dave scale, yep.
And that's about it from me, I think. Oh, Ian, what have you got?
Well, I actually finally decided, I've been looking at these things for ages. I bought myself a JLC hobby saw.
They're awesome.
And this thing is just it's such a clean, straight cut.
Yep.
I have not used a saw this well, of such good quality as one of these. I think they come from Czechoslovakia.
So that's like a razor saw, right?
Yeah.
That's what most people call it, a
Correct,
razor saw.
a razor
'cause
saw,
it looks
yeah.
like a razor.
Yep.
The blade.
But it's a I gave it a test run on some bits of sprue, and it just cuts so fine.
And I
It's
find
so
that
clean.
it's extremely helpful if you've got real delicate pieces on your sprue.
Yep.
Rather than cutting them off, you saw them off with
Yeah,
that.
because the
and it's
teeth,
just-
the one side's got the finest teeth I've seen. Like, you really got to look carefully to actually see the teeth.
Yep.
They're that fine.
So it's more akin to, say, like a hacksaw in like sort of the finest of the teeth.
Yep.
Right.
But no, it's well worth the money spent. Can't remember what I spent. It was about $20 or something.
I did have a look at it before, and the saw I have is the Tamiya saw that sort of looks a bit more like a regular X-Acto knife affair.
Yes.
It's only held at one end rather than this thing that's sort of held through the middle by
Exactly, and that
two
gives
screws.
it its rigidity.
Yeah.
Well, it's a plus and minus because I've got both types, and
Oh, you can't go too deep with it. That's the only thing.
that's the only drawback with that one. But I love the cutting edge on the
Yeah.
blade on it. I reckon it's
That's
awesome.
Absolutely
Yep.
good. Yep.
Well, I mean, the saw that I have has a thicker blade because it's less supported.
Yep.
Whereas that one's more supported to hold a very,
I
very, very
I got one
thin
probably
blade.
the same as yours. Really handy when you're using one of those hobby mitre boxes.
Well, I only ever use mine for, cutting resin blocks off resin parts. Yeah, that's all I use it for.
I use mine mainly for resin and for doing me bases on ships, doing the little planks that the ships sit on.
Oh, okay.
Cut them up.
Yeah.
Put them in the mitre box and cut them up at a certain length. Lovely.
Now, the only thing I got to before we get into
What's new?
Last episode I was having a bit of a crack saying that the TA-152, the Focke-Wulf, was quite a didn't look like a good dogfighter.
You're wrong.
I was right.
Well, no, hang on. It's not that you're right. It's just that I've gone off and I was thinking about this and went and did some research, and I'm quite shocked as to how much of a high-performance aircraft that was.
Oh, yeah.
It could outclimb the P-51D.
Mm-hmm.
It was faster than the P-51D, had a higher service ceiling than the P-51D, and had a greater range on internal fuel than the P-51D.
And I think, I don't actually quote me 100%, but I think on one of their first sorties they actually used them on, they actually managed to take out a Tempest.
Correct. It was a New Zealand Air Force they tangled with. There was a New Zealand Air Force Tempest squadron that was, I think there were 4 of them, and there were 3 TA-152s. What's the actual name of the aircraft? Just TA-152?
TA-152.
Yeah, okay. And
named after Kurt Tank.
Yes, the designer. And it was these aircraft, so there are 3 T-152s and 4 Tempests. And
they would have been the HO model.
One of the 152s went straight into the ground and ploughed in. And that gave the Tempest, what the heck was this? And they sort of all turned around. This is all low level too. So I think they shot down one Tempest and he went to shoot down the other one and his guns jammed. So he couldn't get a second shot. And the other 2 Tempests sort of scattered off. But I read that. And so it was quite a good, because the Tempest is not an aircraft to be fooled around with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were a very deadly machine.
It was a hot ship.
Yep.
It really was. And, of course, from that, the evolution, you got the... oh, goodness me. What was the aircraft?
Sea Fury.
Yeah, Sea Fury. I mean, that was a gorgeous piston-driven...
the main problem with the Tempest and the Typhoons was pilots usually got really sick inside them.
Yeah, the Typhoon had other issues, though.
With the fumes.
Yeah.
Even the fumes used to get in the cockpit and make the pilots really crook.
Oh, there.
But the TA-152s, they just had like a huge wingspan until they went to the C model and then chopped the wings down.
Well, see, I wasn't even aware of this. I mean, because I thought, just looking at it, it looked like a dogfighter, but it turned out, it wasn't half bad.
Exactly.
So, there you go. Ian, I'm admitting something on air to everybody.
Yep.
You're right.
Ooh, that's a rare occurrence.
Oh, well. Lap it up because the last one you're going to get this year.
We'll see.
All right. Okay, so let's have a quick break and we'll go into what's new. Okay, and we're back to have a chat about what's new in the modelling world. And first of all, we're going to have a quick look at, well, not a quick look, we'll have a decent look at Airfix. They've announced quite a few new kits for 2019, and let's have a step through their online catalogue and see what they're releasing. So first of all, looks like a Curtis Hawk in 1/72nd scale, Curtis Hawk A81A2, is that correct? My eyes there.
P40B.
Thank you, Ian. In 1/48 scale, new tool. That's going to be the one we're going to look for, where it says new tool. Cool. A de Havilland Tiger Moth in 1/48 scale, and that has been causing quite a stir amongst our little group, especially with Ian.
Considering previously only 48 scale Tiger Moth you could buy was the crappy Smir kit. About time they bought one of these out in 48.
So I have an opinion about the Tiger Moth.
And what's that?
And I announced as such over the Facebook page. And my opinion is that I don't know what the big deal is. People always rave about Tiger Moths. My dad used to say to me, "Oh, look, it's a Tiger Moth," and I'm like, "Okay, it's a plane."
It's a classic. It's an iconic aircraft.
Have you ever been in a Tiger Moth?
No, of course not.
Well, go in a Tiger Moth and then come back and let's have that conversation again.
Isn't it going to be the same as any other like open cockpit thing?
No. I've done an aerobatics in a Tiger Moth, and you get in there and you look at this little sort of thing sitting on the ground. And you go, oh no. And you go up and you go up. Mind you, it takes about half an hour to get up to the right height, but by the time you get up, and it's just awesome. What a beautiful little aircraft.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely gorgeous.
I'll have to take your word for it because I got nothing to. I can't see what the big deal is.
It's just classic aircraft. It trained hundreds and thousands of pilots, both military and also civilians.
Yep.
It was
probably the most used aircraft throughout every nation on the planet.
Well, certainly in the Western world, but within the British Empire, yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, no. See, trainers don't blow up my skirt. I don't get the interest in Harvards. Or Trojans.
Oh, Trojans! Don't get me started.
Come on, Harvards are awesome. The way the propeller breaks the sound barrier as it flies down, you get that classic sort of sound coming from a Harvard engine from the propeller, I should say.
It does nothing for me.
And Trojans, they're just
hard to play.
ugly.
They're the youngest generation. I'll tell you.
Oh, look, I agree with them. Trojans.
You don't like Trojans either.
They're ugly looking things.
But it looks big and beefy, and it looks like it means business.
It looks like it belongs at the bottom of a toilet bowl.
It looks like an overweight man riding a children's tricycle.
Well said, Julian.
Also announced from Airfix, we have in 1/72nd scale MiG 17F Fresco, which is also a new tool.
Is that in North Vietnamese markings?
It certainly is showing that.
Interesting.
That's all we've got in aircraft. Now, Ian, you reckon that there's...
Well, I'm pretty sure I saw that they're bringing out a range of 135th scale armour.
Oh, let's have a bit of a look around and see.
Which for Airfix is a whole new thing, because they've always done the 176 HO scale armour.
Well, let's have a look at ships, and there's nothing in the ships that are new, which is a shame.
No, you're still not going to get your aircraft carrier.
I was hoping to get to go and see if they had the Queen Elizabeth there, 135th scale.
No, 1700 scale, yeah.
Oh, please. That's going to happen. I'll have to wait for a trumpeter or something to do that.
Yep. There you go, 135th scale. Up the top.
Yeah, what one are you looking at?
The Panther Alf G.
The Alf G in 135th scale, and also the Panzer IV OS FH mid version.
Yep, and they're doing a lot more. But 135th scale for Airfix is unheard of.
Oh,
but notice it doesn't say new tool next to any of them. So
so I'm wondering if they're reboxed from another. Maybe there might be Italy or something.
Maybe. Time will tell, I guess. Yep. As soon as anyone sees the plastic, we'll know for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Also, the Jagdpanzer 38-ton Hetzer in, what scale is that? 135th?
Yeah.
And the M36B1 US Army 135th scale. What's that, Sherman Firefly?
It's a Sherman of some kind.
It's not a Firefly.
No.
Any idea what that is, Steve?
No.
Looks like a Firefly from here.
Yeah, it looks like,
No, it's got the long barrel. It's definitely a very late Sherman. Just not sure if it's
post-war.
It could be Korean War or something like that.
I reckon it's post-war. You look at the top of the turret there, and you look at that bustle box sitting on the back of that turret. That's post-war.
So the Hetzer is kind of does lend to the credit of maybe Italieri.
Yeah.
Or Academy.
But they're bringing out a tractor as well.
Actually,
by the looks of it.
Maybe Academy, because Academy have a very good Hetzer.
So, well, here's a question. So, do we know if Airfix is in cahoots with any of those other companies, or they're just buying the moulds or?
No idea. No idea.
We have to do a bit of sniffing around online and see if we can't find this out.
Yeah. Well, you'll know it's not new tool if they don't start releasing CAD.
Yes.
Airfix don't necessarily release CAD though, anyway.
Well, they have lately.
Oh, they have too. Yeah, with your.
Well, and they did with the Tiger Moth.
Yeah, that's a point.
So they do. Everyone does it now. If it's CAD, then you know it's coming.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
It's like pre-release advertising.
All right, we finished with Airfix.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to Miniart. Miniart have announced in 135th scale a BMR1 late model with a KMT7, which is basically just a mine clearing attachment. So what the Russians did was they grabbed the hull of an Su-122 tank destroyer Kind of made it into like a recovery vehicle and whacked a couple of anti-mine plows on front, and off they went.
So I have seen a recent mini art kit in the box, and wow, that's a complicated kit. Really complicated. Like like it was one of their, because they got like two types for, I think it was a T62 or something like that.
Yep.
There's the one that has the full interior and one without. This was the one without that I saw, and it had 700 parts.
Wow.
So they're taking a leaf out of Dragon's book.
Oh, like you looked at it and it's just one big plastic bag packed thick with spruce. It was ridiculous. It's
For an armor kit, 700 pieces for an armor kit.
Yeah, I wouldn't, like, I'm sure it built up into a really super nice kit. And apparently the reason why it's as complicated as it is because they don't do slide molding.
Oh, I see. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we do know about this particular kit that's coming out is that it's got workable tracks.
With pins? Yeah.
So nice and flexible. It's going to have the usual ubiquitous photo etch and a rotating turret, which is all I can really say until we get some more details on it. It certainly looks like an interesting model to make. And if you're into your Russian armour, this is certainly a must-have, I think.
Yep.
I would say that like if you're going to buy it, I would say this is a kind of a long-term build. It'll take you a while to put that one together, but it'll probably be the most accurate one you have.
Yep.
New model releases for January from Revell. They have announced a FA-18E Super Hornet in 1/32 scale. That's going to be interesting. €80. That's pretty cheap for a kit that size. 1/32 scale.
Yeah.
€80. It's going to be, as I said, the model's going to be the FA-18E Super Hornet. And I thought this Super Hornet had dual seats.
No.
Okay.
I do not know enough about these things.
No. So this will appeal to quite a few people who enjoy building the large aircraft. It's going to come with 6-wing pylons. It's going to come with Mark 83 bombs, a GBU-31 pod, 2 GBU-12 bombs, a couple of AIM-9X guided weapons, 2 wing tanks and a satellite tank. Total number of parts we don't know, but it's going to make
Should be a few.
Yeah. It'll keep you busy for a while. For €80, it'll keep you off the streets for quite a few weeks building that.
Totally agree.
Next in 1/16 scale, we have a Porsche 356 Cabriolet. I think this was the 1960 version. Yeah, it's the 1964 version of the year I was born. And
Big,
it was
large,
a very good year.
1/16 scale, that's a decent size scale too for cars.
Yeah, it is. They're going to be able to pack a lot of detail in it. The kit comes with two-tone plastic, black and grey. The
and
wheels...
chrome.
Oh, is there
There's
chrome
a lot
in
of
there?
chrome in there.
Yeah, a lot of chrome.
Yeah.
So the grey sort of colour is probably for the seats or something like that.
No doubt. Rubber wheels by the looks of it. And opening doors and bonnet with a multi-part engine. So it looks like it's going to make a nice little kit for those of you who enjoy building the German cars from that era. Also from Revell, we have in 1/72 scale a C-54 Skymaster in the Thunderbird's livery. Of course, it's a support aircraft for the Thunderbirds, which is an aerobatic team of the US Air Force. And this is an interesting subject, isn't it?
Definitely.
A C-54 in 1/72 scale. Now, the interesting thing is it comes with 4 etch Peggy etch frets.
Yeah, it looks like
From
supplied by
Edward.
Edward.
Quite possibly. Yeah, do you think so?
Yeah, well, it says so.
It says so.
Oh, there you go.
And looking at the cockpit,
Look at that cockpit. That is so detailed.
for 1/72 scale,
yeah.
all the throttles, all individual throttles.
Oh, jeez. I mean, for a plane like that where you probably can't see it that well, that'd be a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
kind of nightmare that you'd go in for.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that was my scale.
Yeah.
It's got parts to build. You can build a little radio shack and also got the interior seating as well. So I don't know whether you're right there, Julian. I think it's too much in that once you sort of build that. So For those I know,
I don't know how big it
guys,
would
they
turn up.
love
Yeah.
going into that sort of detail and button it up, and you just can't see it afterwards. Now this one's pretty exciting. In 1/32nd scale, they're doing a Westland Lynx Mark 8.
That's going to be huge.
It is, but I reckon it's a great scale for helicopters because they're so small to begin with that doing that scale, they really sort of stand out.
Yeah, but for that scale, you'd want to be able to fold the blades back. Otherwise, it's just going to take up so much room.
Also, I don't know enough about the chopper modelling community. What they prefer, 32nd scale or 35th, because they tend to come out in both.
Yes.
Depending on who they're from.
Yep.
Parts count is 289. Length is going to be 412 millimetres with a wingspan, that'll be rotor span, of 401 millimetres. About €40 when it comes out. And the detail's looking quite impressive, I've got to say. And as I said, this is going to really appeal to a lot of builders. Even if you haven't built helicopters before, the scale's large enough that I think you could tackle it and be quite successful at it. And the Lynx is just such a gorgeous aircraft for a helicopter, I think. I reckon it's the bee's knees.
Yeah, helicopter modelling, I think, is getting a little bit popular now.
Yeah.
Seeing more and more at the shows as we go.
Mm.
TACOM have announced a Russian Army tank transporter. It is the MAZ 537G tractor with a semi-trailer in 1/72nd scale. This is part of the kits that TACOM are doing for a whole series of Russian armoured tractor sets. So the kit's designed to have 4 different marking schemes, which are included. There's photo etch parts included, and high-quality vinyl tyres are also included. I think at that scale, you'd just toss them, wouldn't you?
Well, in that scale, I mean, it's not going to be that big a deal, is it?
No.
No.
You're not going to be getting resin wheels for a 72nd scale vehicle.
Yep.
Now, this one sort of pricked my interest. Bronco, their new kit for January is going to be a 1/32nd scale Soviet T-34/85 medium tank. This looks like the TACOM are dipping their toes into the 1/32nd scale.
TACOM, don't you mean Bronco?
Bronco. Dipping their toes into the 1/32nd scale armour kit range now. This is the first one they've done.
Yeah, we don't see many 1/32nd scale armour kits.
No, which is I don't know.
It's weird.
It's a weird scale.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Everyone else does 1/35th. Why go 1/32nd?
Interestingly, though, it's the T-34/85. There was something in the news just the other day where Russia's taken back 15 or so of those model tanks from the Laotian army.
Yeah, because they're still using them.
Yeah, they were, but now they've been sent back to Russia. Russia's sort of taken them back. They're going to be using their May Day parades and used for movie props and everything.
Oh, right. Yep.
So I reckon that's a cool thing.
So what does that leave the poor Laotians?
I don't know.
Elephants?
I think they bought a derivative of the T60 or T70 or something like that. And
that'd be a big shock for them.
Would be, wouldn't it?
Go from something to that vintage to something so much more modern.
Coming in the future.
Hey, look, this tank's got dials in it.
Exactly.
Oh, dear.
You know there's going to be at least one of those soldiers who thinks, I prefer the old ones.
Exactly. I agree. Always.
So, not much more about the Bronco T-35/85. All we know is in 32nd scale.
Weird scale.
We'd have a parts count that I can see. Although, let's have a bit of a scroll down and see what else they're talking about. No, just showing CAD drawings, really, of the exterior. You'd think in that scale they'd have a fairly decent interior, wouldn't you?
Yep. Also comes with a little photo etch fret as well.
Yeah. So I'll just have to wait and see.
It looks like, is that Korean or Chinese? Chinese.
Yeah, but so many different nations used it. I mean,
Yep.
geez, you could knock yourself out, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Couldn't you?
I think the photo at the bottom there, that was a Chinese one, a real one from their actual museum.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all I've got for what's new. Have you guys got any new sort of products or information or
No, besides
besides your little saw?
Well, that's about it
Your
for
razor
me.
saw?
My razor saw.
Yeah.
ICM also had an announcement of their 2019 lineup. There's a few new tool things in there. I'm I'm just trying to recall them off the top of my head. I think there was like an A26 Invader of the aircraft. I mean, like obviously I can only remember the things
scale?
that were 48 scale.
Okay.
But it was the earlier ones. I think B and C.
Because previously you could only get the old monogram Invader, wasn't it?
Mm.
With the old
So-
raised panel lines. So
It'll be interesting. I mean, having built one of
that'd be
their...
the Second World War Invader, not the one they used in the Korean War.
Yeah, maybe.
And Academy have released their new catalogue for 2019, but I haven't had a chance to look at it before going to air. So maybe that'll be for the next show to have a look at.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some of the stuff.
To work in detail, yep. Because
Totally
I mean, this is we're going to get a few of these sort of things at the start.
Oh
of the
yeah,
year.
of course. They're just gonna keep popping up.
Yep. Cool.
Keep popping up.
Cool.
That's it.
All right, I think that's it. Let's take a very quick break, and we'll come back and have a chat with our guest Steve about production line modelling. Production line modelling. Back soon. Okay, welcome back, everybody, and to have a chat about our subject today, which is production line modelling. We've got Steve in the studio, and when we talk about production line modelling, we're talking about you just use one particular subject and you just mass produce them, bang, 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 much like a Model T Ford factory.
Yeah.
And I guess the Wargamer guys would be, really sort of comfortable with this sort of way of painting and building, but if you're a normal scale modeller, it sort of pushes them out of the comfort zone a little bit sometimes, doesn't it? So, Ian, you've done a lot of this as well.
Not really.
Steve.
I did it once.
Yeah.
I decided to do all 4 different stubs, I think, of the Focke-Wulf 190s with the Tatzel worm.
Oh, okay.
So I did a green Tatzel worm, a yellow Tatzel worm, a white Tatzel worm, and a red Tatzel worm.
And funnily enough, Steve, you've also done Focke-Wulf 190s as well.
I have, yeah. I've just gone through a whole series. I've just done 11 at the same time.
Oh my God, 11!
11.
All in
yeah,
148
yeah.
scale.
So you know what it's like when you sit down and you go through all your books that have those wonderful colour schemes in it, and you say, yeah, I'm going to do that one, I'm going to do that one, I'm going to do that one.
Yeah.
The reality is I won't live long enough to do them all.
Yeah.
But what's good about that is it gives you a chance to do really different things, and different marks and variants, and you add different things to them so they're not all the same. There's lots of benefits to it. It's a lot quicker than making just one.
Yes.
I say if you've got 4 and you spray all the wheels,
Yes.
it takes the same time to mix it and to spray it. It's just a fraction longer and not much longer. And what happens is, because you've done the 4, you don't do them all the same, you do them slightly different. So when you've got them together, instead of them being all the same,
All
they're slightly
clone,
different.
yeah.
One might be weathered a little bit differently, one might be cleaner. So for me, it's a fun way to do it.
So any particular... I'll just get you to pull your microphone a bit closer to your mouth there. So you can actually move it and get it right in. That's it?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. It's a lot better. So... do you sort of sit down and sort of plan, well, okay, I want to do Focke-Wulf 190s, so do you then look for a particular brand of kit and then go and buy 10 of them, or is it something that's already sitting in your...
Chances are that I've already got them. Yeah.
Well, so let's say, for example, you decided, I want to do a P51D and do, a multitude of models of the different sort of schemes.
Yep.
What's your process for going through and sort of planning it out, from the purchase of the model to working out all the paints to actual gluing of them all together? Just talk us through the whole process.
Okay, so look, it's a lesson in project management, really.
Yep.
If you do 11 Focke-Wulfs like I've just done, it's very, very easy to lose the parts. So what I do is I have fishing tackle boxes with tape at the bottom, and it might be Hasegawa A8. So everything goes along in those pieces there, because sometimes, if we're doing a club display for expo or a model competition or something like that, I might put them away for a while and then come back and do them, because you do get bogged down sometimes. You drop something, or you're spraying some model and it just splitches all out. So I put it away. But the thing for me is, when you're doing them, it's very easy to try and rush it, and you can't. It's one of the tricks to the trade is you've got to put it down, let it dry, because the mistakes that I do make are always because I'm in a hurry. I'm trying to rush it.
Yep.
I've got half an hour. I'm going to get half an hour's modelling into it. And sure enough, you end up 2 hours further off. So, again, I daydream and read my books and have a look every spare minute that I get to choose the colour schemes. I also, for a long time, collected aviation prints signed by the pilots.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
if I've got a choice, I try and do a model from a signature that I have as well. So back in the time before I was married, I had an account at Hannard's. And it was just so easy just to order something and it would just come in the mail. And so I keep my decals in folders.
Yes, best place to keep them.
And, again, when I did those Focke-Wulfs, I've got an Edward folder. I've got a current with all the instructions and the colour schemes on what I'm doing. I have a Tamiya one as well and anything else that goes with that as well. I've tried to, at the moment, part of that 11 was an Edward, one of the earlier ones, which I have quite a lot of, and it's quite a difficult kit to put together. So I just reflecting on it just a couple of days ago, probably could have done 3 kits in the time that I've done one. And what's interesting from a modelling point of view, when you're doing so many and you've got the different brands, is how they're engineered.
Yeah.
They can be quite different, and it's surprising how each company just approaches the different, and there's pros and cons for each one.
Oh, of course.
And we know what they are. I mean, Tamiya, they're so simple to put together. Everything fits quite well. The Hasegawa ones, a different sort of plastic but finer detail. The Tamiya ones, the details, it's very good. And then the Edward ones, of course, very difficult. And of that,
super detailed.
Yeah. Of the 11 that I've just completed, 6 were the old Dragon, which is the TriMaster. And now that is a very difficult kit to put together, very difficult kit. And even having done probably at least 15 of them, it still catches you out because it's quite an old kit. It's the old TriMaster kit.
Yeah, and they've got that really horrible stainless steel photo etch.
I have, yeah.
And I always remember when I built mine, there's like a structure that sits behind the pilot seat, and it's got these little wings that you got to try and fold down. And being stainless steel, as soon as you go to fold it, the whole thing just bends in half.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is just so hard.
Even if you anneal it, it's still springy.
Yeah,
still really
exactly.
springy. Yeah.
I also found with the old Dragon ones, the ones I built, I always had to put like an extra bit of a spar in the fuselage to where it meets the wing roots. Because I don't know if it's just because it's such an old mould now, because ex-TriMaster, the fuselage is just a little bit too narrow. So you just got to spread the fuselage out a little bit.
Yeah. So something else that I do with the production, again, I'll go back to the Focke-Wulfs because I've just done them, is the spinners.
Yep.
The spinners will be different colours. They'll have a different decal on them. So I have chopsticks, which I wrap a little bit of tape. I stick it on the end of the tape, and that's labelled exactly what it is, because it is so easy to end up with 2 of the same thing or one missing, or it's very... Yeah. So as I said about project management, I don't want to overdo it, but you've got to be really... It's got to be really well planned.
So if you're going to build a staffel of ME109s, and having gone through building 11 FW190s, would you go back and choose just one particular kit brand to use to simplify the process even more? Or would you still be quite happy to sort of mix and match different kit brands?
I do mix and match, I do.
Do you do that just to keep your interest up, or is it because that's what you got in your stash?
It's what's in my stash, yeah. So I have 50 109s.
Oh, okay.
I've probably got another dozen on the go at the moment.
All in one 48 scale?
48, yeah.
Okay,
48, yeah.
Well, of the kits that you have built, how many of each do you have? Is that a question you can answer off the top of your head? Or?
No, not really. I had everything catalogued, and I had all my photographs, and I got a virus on my computer.
Okay.
So I've lost a record of everything that I had. Yeah.
So 2 numbers or 2 numbers or 3 numbers in the quantity.
I was, well over 3. We've got to be careful.
Well over 100 kits.
Well, what I'm asking is
well
like,
over.
how many Focke-Wulfs have you built?
Yeah.
How many 109s?
Okay, well,
Roughly.
I've got. Look, I'd have about 100 Luftwaffe 48 scale kits completed,
Okay.
Wow.
and I'd probably have about 40 that are at all different stages of
Okay.
preparation. So,
Wow.
depending on the time of year and depending on what I feel like doing, like you can't spray now because it's too hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, but it's great to glue in summer because the glue dries
Dries
really
in no
quickly.
time, yep.
Yeah. So I do go with the seasons as well.
Of the work, and I've only seen your work on a couple of occasions. I have seen you had I think like about 8 BF-110s.
Yeah.
That were all
Yep,
night
one time.
fighters.
Yep. Yep.
And I remember you going into great detail about the different radar arrays on the front.
Again, it's one of the reasons that I do it because, again, getting back to a 109, you can take an F2. It can be Russian front from Norway. It can be Tunisia, Libya, on the Eastern Front, flying over England, and all be different colours, completely different colours, but the same mark of aircraft. But with those 110s, they were all the Revell G4s.
Okay.
Yep.
And I got a decal sheet of night fighter aces. So I thought, I'm going to do the lot of them. And they're all different. They're all completely different painting.
Yeah.
Different radar on the
Yep.
front. A lot of resin, unfortunately, because the resin, the Revell kit's not the best. I don't like to be critical, but,
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't like to be critical, Revell, but they're crazy sort of scales they do their ships in. Hang on, I've just found my soapbox, so I'll step down. Sorry, Steve. I've just found my soapbox when it comes to Revell. So, but you're right though. You don't want to be critical, and and I guess it's up to us as modelers to sort of make that choice whether we're going to purchase that kit knowing there's extra work to put into it, or are we going to purchase a kit that we know is going to build straight out of the box. I mean, like that Japanese destroyer I'm building at the moment. I started building that because I got so frustrated.
You're building a destroyer.
Sorry, the cruiser I'm building.
Better, Dave.
I just pulled that out of the shelf and started building it. Got so frustrated about all the mistakes and the issues I was having with the other kits I was building. So I put them all on the shelf and I'm building this. It's just falling together and it's just a joy.
I'd rather be critical. I'd rather people know about the pitfalls so that they can make up their own minds.
Yeah, but also it's part of modelling too. Is part of the joy of it is you should be looking to make things easier for yourself, not make things harder.
Oh, but yeah,
Unless you're that person
well-
who thrives on a particular challenge.
Well, you can go for an easy one sometimes when you want a bit of a break, and you can go for a difficult one when you want to be a bit more ambitious.
Yeah, see, I think, and this is just my personal thing. I think the challenge for me would come in where I do the weathering and the painting of the model rather than just doing a sort of just box standard sort of one.
Mm-hmm, okay.
That's where I would get into the detail and
The realism.
yeah, building the kit because it's a difficult kit just so I can achieve it doesn't really grab me that much.
Okay.
No. And that's why I was interested in what you were saying, Steve. And you got about, 3 different manufacturers you're building all at the same time? And surely it would have slowed your process down somewhat by having to go that path, yeah?
It does. Well, again, if I can just use them as an example, Tamiya, the cowling is 1 piece. I think Hasegawa is 4. Dragon, I think, is 5.
5 pieces.
And to get those 5 pieces together to fit on the end of the fuselage into the wings, it just doesn't. It doesn't work.
It's a challenge. It's a
It's a real
real
challenge.
challenge. Yeah.
It's a real challenge. Yeah.
You got to use slow drying glue, and then put it together, and then mate it up to the. Don't actually glue it to the fuselage yet, but mate it up to the fuselage, and then slowly
Shape it
with your fingers, so you get everything right. Because those little, I always found with the Dragon one, it's those centre little panel bits with the bulges. And I always found that those things, if they're not seated correctly, they just bow out and the bottom pulls in tight.
And you leave holes. And
Correct.
Look, apparently, I haven't bought one yet. The new Edward, they've made a simpler version.
Yes.
And what they've done is they've got the fuselage and the cowling is all in one. So I think that will be 3 times easier to build. I
Much
haven't,
easier.
I haven't got one yet.
Is it one of their weekend kits?
No,
Weekend kits.
yeah.
I have one. I got the Ram Jaeger sort of double box thing where it's got a 109 and a Focke-Wulf 190 in it. I haven't looked at it in too much detail, so I can't tell you. But it's nice. Is all I can say.
Yeah.
It looks nice in the plastic.
Well,
I'll tell you how it goes.
Okay, because unfortunately, when they originally came out, probably 10 years ago, I bought the limited edition, special boxing, and look, I have to give them the credit. There's a dual combo night fighter, and you can make an A5, A6, A7, A8 with radar. There's got to be 8 different decal options, and for someone like me, you buy it's a disaster because you want to do all 8. What can you do?
You should get the Aussie 8 Spitfire. That comes with 31 decal options.
Yeah.
31 decal options on a model kit. You get 2 kits.
Yep.
2 Mark 8 Spitfires.
And a beautiful book with it as well.
Correct. Yep. Nice book. A little poster.
Yeah.
You had one, didn't you, Dave?
I sold it to Chris.
Don't know. I still shake my head on that.
I was never going to build it, so I thought, I'll put it this way, I felt in my own mind I'd never do justice to the kit.
Yep.
And so I thought rather than it sitting up there languishing and in the stash, I'll let it go, and Chris was happy to take it off my hands.
Yep.
So I have partially built a Focke-Wulf 190 of the old type from Eduard that you've done.
Yep.
It's a really it's a bit more rough edge than most people would imagine. Like there's a lot of parts and they go together in fairly kind of vague ways compared to some other manufacturers like Tamiya where connections are very positive and you can't get much wrong. I ended up like sort of giving up halfway. Once I got to sort of like where the guns go in and that bulkhead, and I was like, nah, I think I'll pass this on to someone who can make a challenge of it. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he hasn't touched it since.
Who's
that? Hamish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He was looking for like an A3 or an A4 or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I've got one of those. You can have this one for free.
Yeah, look, I had a lot of trouble with it, and I kept giving the manufacturer the better benefit of the doubt. I kept thinking I was doing something wrong. It was fouling in so many places. And I won't go into the technical details, but I had to cut some parts away. I thought, what have I done wrong? I must have done something wrong because this couldn't possibly be right. And then got on the internet, had a look at a couple of reviews, and there was one guy from Brit Modeler. He'd had exactly the same problems that I'd had. He thought he was the one doing something wrong as well. But it took me an hour and a half to fit 8 exhaust stacks. And a couple of them were short, and I thought, $100 kit, the exhaust starts, they can't be short. It's got to be something that I've done wrong. I looked at some photos, and they were short.
Yep.
And, of course, I had to fix them up. But then I looked at a couple of other reviews. I don't know what I can say here. And
Yeah.
Go for it.
No, it's all open.
And they were telling us what a fantastic kit it was, and a lot of dry fitting to do, but if you spend some time, you get the most accurate 190. Kit supplied by Eduard review kit.
Wow.
And I thought, come on. My heart sunk when I saw that. I thought, you know what? You're not being true to yourself. I mean, there's a lot of problems with it, and I'm not being overcritical, and I've still got half a dozen I've got to make because I've paid my hard-earned for them, so I'm going to make them. But I just thought, if you're going to do the review, at least tell the truth.
That poses an interesting thing. I don't know, we've never touched on it really, but I mean, we've always opened it up. We're quite happy to have kits brought, given to us so we can review them. But how much does that then put on you as a reviewer to either A, be honest to the people that you're doing the review for, i.e. the paying public, and how much are you going to sort of bag the kit if it's a real dog?
Well, if you bag your kit, you guarantee you're not going to get another one.
I know. So
well, this is where the line is drawn. Is if this is if your review is not your job, right? Yep. Then you can afford to give your honest opinion and live with never getting another freebie kit.
Yep.
But if it's your job, then you have to toe the line because you're invested in it, right? You can't just, burn the bridges, so to speak, and then never be able to get those free kits, which is because a lot of those guys who get those free kits won't build them, and then they'll sell them. and make it part of their income.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, that happens a lot in the industry.
Oh, really?
I look at it a different way as well. I've always thought that a really excellent review on Hyperscale, can I say that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
That could be worth 1,000, 1,500 more sales.
Yep.
A positive, good review, and it's a great website, and I love it. I go there every day.
Great website.
So it's we're talking a lot of money here. It's not just somebody's personal opinion.
But at the same time, it can be very divisive. Terry Ashley on Perth Military Modelling, he used to do a lot of reviews for armour kits, really in-depth reviews, and apparently he got a lot of grief for it. So, it comes down. I don't know why he would get grief for it. I mean, if you're putting a critical eye to something and you're discerning what's good from what's bad, and you're informing people, I don't know why those people would turn on you. I don't know why, but it happens.
Yep.
I guess like when you're on the internet, you're gonna incur a bit of flaming from somebody.
Oh yeah, always.
It's just par for the course.
Yeah. But I think it's people get a little bit silly as well, and they want to be. Again, I've read reviews about a kit, and they've said, "Well, I don't know why they've done that." I'm thinking, well, that's because again, getting back to the Focke-Wulf, when it slides back, it pinches in, so it's smaller. And the reviewer didn't know that, yet he bagged it. And I thought, come on, mate, like, if you're going to put yourself out there to be a reviewer, you've got to have a lot of knowledge, and you've got to know what you're talking about.
Yep.
And you've also got to be a fairly good builder as well, I'd suggest, as well, so you can tell when something's not sitting right or a subject matter expert. So, for example, if you gave me an FW190, well, I wouldn't know if it's looked the right part or it didn't. I'd have to do a lot of research and go and figure it out. Yet, I could ring up Ian and say, hey, what can you tell me about this FW1? And he'd be able to tell me right off the bat because he's built about 20 of the darn
That's
things.
right. Yep.
Well, I mean,
Not that many. I think I built 13, I think.
Well, there you go. You're in competition with Steve.
No, not even close. But I'll tell you one thing though, Steve's inspired me to get out all my P40 kits. Maybe do a big production run on my P40s. I've got about 20 of them.
Yeah, so one thing that I think seems kind of obvious, but not apparently obvious, is I think it's important that you have to have someone who's capable of and does build models at every step of the way, both in the production of the kits, at the reviewing end, and the consumer, obviously. That's the easy one. That's the easy one to figure out. But I mean, how many modelling companies don't have anyone in their staff who build models?
Well, that's a point. I mean, time and time again, you look at a company announcing a new model, be it a ship or a car or something, and they put the CAD drawings up online, and you get the rivet counters out straight away saying, "Oh, this shape looks a bit odd," and rah, and well,
yeah, but
it's the original CAD.
Some problems are negligible, and some of them aren't.
Yeah,
right. And there's a level of tolerance in there where this is good enough, close enough, and if anyone cares to at least aftermarket for it to correct it, then good on them, right?
And let's be frank. I mean, there have been some model companies out there that have built some real dogs. They've got some things particularly wrong. And the classic one is you've got Airfix and Trumpeter both produce in 1/350 scale the Daring class destroyer. And you look at both the models side by side, and one's fatter than the other one. It's more beamy than the other one. So someone got the measurements wrong. One of those two companies got the measurements wrong.
Yeah. And don't you think as modelers, you've got to know when to stop. You've got to say enough is enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
I cannot spend any more time doing this.
It belongs on the shelf of doom.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, not so much that, but you've got to get onto the next model so you can, you've got to know when to stop. And
put a firecracker in it and sort of throw it over the fence, or give it to the kid next door, or use it as a stick for your dog to chase after.
No, or just ignore the problem and then just finish it and let it be as it is.
I have a different philosophy. No model can beat me. Okay. I can't be beaten. I will beat it because it's a bit of plastic and that's it.
Yeah, that's right. It's inanimate.
Even if you put it away, it has no feelings for you. So put it away and come back to it and get it done.
Yeah. See, instead, I have a guy who likes to build other people's sloppy seconds, as I say, right? He loves building other people's half-finished models, and if I get too frustrated with something and I say, no, I'm at the breaking point, this is not going to be a model I'm ever going to be happy with, I'll just pass it on to him because he's quite happy to finish it.
And he always does.
Yeah, he always does.
He always does. But getting back to your production line.
Yes, we're getting a bit straying a bit.
Yeah, we did get astray.
Burnout. Do you suffer from burnout occasionally, like when you're doing like such a big run that you sort of just got to like take a step back and say, look, I really need a break from this?
Occasionally you do get bogged down, but I've never had burnout because I'm so excited about doing it and getting them done, and I enjoy it.
Yep.
With all the pressures of modern day life, all those things that we love to do. And no, I don't. I never get sick of it. Never get tired of it. I've just finished 11, but I've got another 5 on the go as we speak. So I've got another 3 that have been brought up to colour. So no. Maybe it's a personality flaw. I'm sure.
Well, there's also the fact that you've sort of drilled down another level. So whereas someone like me or Ian might go, you know what, we're tired of Luftwaffe aircraft, we're going to go build something Pacific theatre, right? Whereas you sort of go, well, I've had enough of the Focke-Wulf A models, I'm going to go for the Fs or something.
Or the Ds.
Yeah. Well, look, I like to, as I said with the signatures, do the themes, but I've also got, I've bought a lot of kits and I've got a lot of decals to do Pearl Harbor. Mm-hmm. I've done a handful of Pearl Harbor. And Battle of Britain is my thing as well. Even Airfix are bringing out kits now that were, fought in the Battle of Britain. So I do those. So maybe at the end of these 3 or 5 Focke-Wulfs that I'm doing, I'll start on my Battle of Britain.
All right. Yep.
Yeah. And Australian, I love to do Australian, but predominantly World War II.
Yes.
And only 48 scale.
That's the true scale.
Actually, I was actually because I have the Tamiya Wildcat, and I was talking to someone.
It's a beautiful kit.
It is a nice kit.
It's a beautiful. But
I was talking to a friend, and so even though Tamiya only do the one variant, there's a whole bunch of the other variants that are done by Hobby Boss, and if you look at the actual way they've designed the kit, it's almost like they ripped off the Tamiya kit.
Yes.
And in doing so, I was looking up some just different models and stuff, and I came across one of yours.
Yeah. Well, I must have done 8 or 10 of them, all different variants. Again, you've got, they were used by the English.
Yep.
They were used in Libya. Of course, there's the American Pacific ones. Wonderful colour schemes from the Royal Navy as well. And Aeromaster did maybe 2 or 3 parts, and I had like 2 of those. And again, it was fun. It was fun to do them.
Yeah, I mean, once you start drilling into all the little details, different theatres, different configurations, different sub variants,
Variants, yeah.
Like field modifications, all those sort of little details. I mean, it's a rabbit warren, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but researching what you're doing is part of the fun of it.
Correct.
As well.
Yeah, totally.
And
agree.
again, the Kagero set of books, no cash for comments here, but at the back they've got a sort of a brief description of all the different variants, so you can get that while the Tamiya kit, and you can look and you can see, and you can do quite a few different variants with just not too much adjustment at all.
Yep.
But that is a beautiful kit. That is. One of the most beautifully fitting kits.
That's what I found. Yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah, well worth the money getting that Wildcat.
It's such a cheap kit.
Yeah.
Because it's a fairly small
aircraft.
Small plane, but it's in a relatively small box. I think to me, it's just sort of classified it as one of their cheaper options, and they've really priced it well.
Yeah.
I tell you what's significant about that kit that's different from quite most kits. The cockpit floor fits to the headrest, which fits to the console, which comes down and fits and makes the undercarriage or the wheel bay.
Yep, the wheel bay.
It fits to the firewall, which fits to the engine, and it all fits perfectly together. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Yep.
See, Hobby Boss have ripped that off for their series of Wildcats.
Right.
but they've also carried it through to their Bearcat, which is a very similar plane in a lot of ways. They both got that, wheel well that goes all the way up in behind the engine, and you can see the engine sort of.
The only thing with the Hobby Boss Bearcat is that the detail in the wheel well is non-existent.
Non-existent.
So I've got one half built, and I must have bought 2 or 3 aftermarket sets.
Yeah.
Just to make it look like if you look at it underneath, there's actually something in there.
Yeah. So I did the same thing. I didn't actually know you'd half built yours.
Yeah.
When I built mine.
Oh, I stuffed mine up, so mine's gone back in the box.
Yeah.
I mucked up the dihedral on the wings.
Yeah. I lucked out with mine, and I was able to finish it. But at the same time, the quality of Hobby Boss's plastic is not on par with Tamiya.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah, there are some sort of
chalk and cheese.
Yeah. Across the top of the fuselage and the bottom of the fuselage, the seam lines, it's just they have that weird texturing that goes on sometimes on Trumpeter/Hobby Boss's products.
So, Steve, with your paint, you got a particular paint that you prefer to use?
Okay, well, I've tried quite a few.
Yep.
I always come back to Tamiya paints.
Yep.
Mix them myself, mix them in the bottles, label them so I can go back and spray them again. I've tried other brands. There's nothing wrong with other brands. The Tamiya, you get a lot of bang for buck, so there's plenty in there. You can buy them almost anywhere. You don't have to go to a model shop to buy them sometimes. You can buy them at Art Supply. As I've said, there's a lot of new brands coming out, and I'm tossing up whether I'm going to try them. I see AK now. I've got the
Air
whole
range.
new, Yep. I've been burnt before. I bought all the Aeromaster paints. I've still got them. Very difficult to use. Very pigmented.
Correct. Yeah, it's like spraying sand.
Yeah, and it clogs your airbrush. I mix 50-50. I make my own thinner. Just OSO, 50-50 mix it. For mottle, I mix just with metho.
Yep.
I just mix, and depending on what range, I would mix that 10-1, which sounds pretty watery, but when you put that against the blue of the Luftwaffe, it actually shows up.
And it actually looks scale right.
Yeah. It mixes well. It lasts a long time. All the kits that you've just seen before that'll be on the Facebook page.
Julian's been taking a lot of photographs of all of your FW190s.
Not
and
all of them, just
a selection. Yeah, a selection.
All Tamiya.
Yeah.
All Tamiya. Nothing else.
And well, it's interesting. I've just started using the Tamiya lacquer, the new, and I'm raving about it. It's just brilliant stuff.
Okay.
Guns, I'm a big Guns fan.
Yep.
SMS Paints is an Aussie manufacturer. They're really nice as well. But it comes back to, and I was interested in what you said about you make your own thinner, because I'm a big fan or a big believer of trying not to mix the thinners too much between different brands, because it doesn't sometimes work.
Right.
And I discovered that once with I can't think of the brand name now. I'll let it go. But it just didn't work at all. But
look, the Guns paints are good as well.
Yeah.
But again, people love to argue about the Luftwaffe colours and the variants, and I've spent a small fortune on books, so-called experts, and everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
For example, the JG54.
Yep.
When it came to winter, they have the 2 greens and the tan or a brown, and it's always been a myth.
Yep.
That they were captured Russian paints. Okay, so there's 600 odd aircraft that had to be painted with captured Russian paint, and we don't think that that's happened now.
No, it doesn't sound right.
When you read the experts, because these are people that make a living out of it, they've mixed the available paints and got those colours. So I think people try to overthink things.
Yeah, I saw recently, speaking of weird colours, Klaus Sunden, he does a lot of books on Luftwaffe profiles.
That's right, yeah.
And one of his later books, he's got JU-88s and Heinkel 111s, and they're blue.
Completely blue.
Blue, with like a tan squiggly camouflage over them.
Is that for over the ocean, perhaps?
presume it probably would be, but it's just so weird seeing them in a blue colour.
Yeah. The other thing is with the Luftwaffe colours, I don't care what anybody says. There's no rules.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
Depends what they mix the paint with. Because,
You know,
like, for example, if they did got a standard splinter camouflage or whatever, and then painted over it, they didn't always have the right thinners. Sometimes they mix the paint with petrol, and that's going to change the hue of the paint.
Mm.
And the aircraft that were on the Russian front, high UV.
Yep.
The yellow, the 04, for example. I'm not an expert. I only
Sure.
only
No.
relay what
Yeah.
other people have taught me.
Yep.
3 different hues, but one of them, it's just the sun fading
Yeah.
the yellow.
Yep.
And it's the way the photograph is taken, at what time of the day it was, which hemisphere it's in.
What sort of film?
Exactly right. How old the aircraft is. I mean, there's a whole range of things. I mean, 2 aircraft can come out of the same factory, and they can go to different theatres and look completely different in the paint finish depending on how they're being used and all this sort of stuff. And it just staggers me that people sort of get really wound up about it.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
just relax.
Yeah, well, there's a Mirage down at Point Cook. Okay, all the decals have silvered, okay, on the real aircraft.
Yeah.
And you can see where they've done the outline for the lizard scheme,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then coloured it in. And you can see it's 2 different colours. Now, if I entered that in a competition, I'd be crucified.
Yes, I totally agree.
I think we get a bit too precious sometimes. Models.
It's like people putting D-Day stripes.
Yeah, I
And
know.
they're all
It's
going to be
always
perfect. whereas
And
you see the photos of them, they're
Yes.
using brooms and whatever they can get their hands on to apply the stuff.
Exactly
But
right.
how hard as a modeler is it to do that
To
wavy?
do- yeah,
line?
the-
yeah,
the-
It's
with
a difficult
let
thing.
out finish. Yeah. So with all these kits,
Yep.
where do you store them?
Okay, that's a good question. I have a lovely, beautiful wife, but
You can't push it
they're
too far.
stored in 3 different locations because there's so many and
Yep.
so many unmade kits. I have some in my workshop, some in the garage. In the roof of my mother and father's place, they have like a ski chalet that has a lovely loft in
Loft
it.
in it,
So
yep.
so I can put those up there. I store them in food containers for seafood.
Yeah, those
They're
big,
polystyrene.
the big polystyrene
Yeah,
white
so I
ones.
just
Yep.
some card in that, and then I just slot them in there, and you can.
So you don't
fit-
have like a heap of massive cabinets.
I don't. I have always had my latest aircraft in my workshop in the cabinets
Yep.
done. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yep,
And
yep.
look, I have to say, and I'm not ashamed to say it. When I see them there, I think I'm really pleased with that. There's a sense of satisfaction, a sense of achievement, and
Yep.
I'm actually proud of what I've done. I could point out 50 things wrong with it, but in this day and age,
How many
You've got
can
your
you,
money's worth.
How many can you get in those cabinets? You can't get the whole recently completed fleet, right?
No. Well, I've just at the top. It's just got the 6 latest Focke-Wulfs, and
Okay.
and I, like a museum, I just chop and change depending on where it is. Yeah. But look, it's fun, and I know it. I know of modelers that cannot do more than one model, so each to their own.
Yeah.
Like do what.
Whatever you
Have a
feel
coach
most
fancy,
comfortable
yep.
with.
I'm notorious for having about 4 or 5 or even 6 models on the go, but they're not all the same sort of model. One will be of this particular thing, and one will be of another one. And
Yep.
as I get bored or something else interests me, I'll start another kit.
Yeah.
So I'm terrible for that.
Well, the trick is, again, I'm speaking on behalf of all modelers. It's very easy to cut the bits off the sprue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then to follow it through.
Follow
The
it through.
trick is to follow it through.
Through,
So
yep.
I have them at different stages as well.
Yep.
And it's fun. I enjoy it.
It sounds
See,
like
I've actually gone the other way around. I used to have multiple projects on the go, and then I've narrowed it down to like 2 at any one time, because what I found was that I would go to another kit when I hit a sort of wall. Like, for example, I'd get so far building one kit, and I'm like, I really need to paint something before this one can go any further. But I don't want to paint anything now, so I'll start another kit, and then I'll do the same thing with that one.
Yep.
And I'll go, oh, well, that's all right. I'll just have a big paint day, in like 2 weeks' time or something. But the big paint day never comes. you just, because, you can't just, it's not reasonable to carry 4 bloody kits out to the garage. It doesn't, that's where I paint. And, you've only got so many hands.
I guess also one of the good things about doing your production line style is one thing that drives me nuts sometimes, having to clean the brush out and reload, clean the brush out. If you're doing production style, you can sort of do all the undercoat in one hit for all. It's providing all the models built first.
Yep.
And then you can, you're not chopping, changing paint brushes or airbrushes as much as you would.
I think the thing with aircraft is that all the interiors are usually 99%, they're all the same colour.
Mm.
Yeah. And the wheel wells as well. See, I can tell you I did all the wheel wells at the same time.
Yeah.
So it took me maybe a couple of minutes extra. That's all. That's all. So again, because I've got so many kits that I want to do, it's a way of doing it as well.
Yeah. So what's next on your production line?
Okay,
then,
well
Steve?
I have about 10 109s that I'm doing at the moment, the G2 version of those.
All the same manufacturer or different manufacturers again?
They're pretty much all Hasegawa,
Yep.
I think. Yep. I've got the 110s to finish. I've got 8 D9s on the go at the moment. 4 of those are finished and deckled and just need some weathering. What else have I got?
Now, I have seen your D9s in partially completed.
Yep.
And last I heard, you had some trouble with a particular decal for the fuel, and they use different types of fuel.
Okay,
Correct, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Did you end up solving that issue?
Well,
or?
this is where we have to drill down, and thank goodness there's some really good decal manufacturers out there. Eagle Cals have on their decal sheet, or what comes with the decal sheet, is some photographs of the real aircraft.
Yes.
And depending on where it was made and what engine it has, or whether it's water boosted or turboed or whatever it is, the little triangle that most modelers would be familiar with, it has a different, they have the correct, if it's got methanol or 50 or whatever the number needs to be on the triangle, and they've got it right. The problem is when you start to do your research, and this happens to all modelers, I got all my books out on D9s and went through, and the references were different. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? Like, I've got to make a decision.
Yep.
And what interests me is the different manufacturers go with a different reference. You can see once you lay it all out. There's a Czech book, JPO.
Oh, the JPO books.
The JPO books. They're made for modelers. They are the most magnificent. Because they know that a modeler needs all this information, and they have a page on all the different photographs and all the different permutations that go with it. And Edward, when they did their D9s, they went with the JPO because they're the same. But I'll give them the due. The Jerry Cranwell books. Have you seen those? They're magnificent
he does great
books.
research. Jerry Cranwell.
But they're pieces of artwork. But in their second volume, both authors, they have read what the other books have said, and I'll give them the due. They weren't critical, but they would make reference to it. Oh, we think it's RLM 81, but on page 5 in volume 1 of the other book, they said this, and we disagree with them. But it was done in a respectful way. It was quite good. I mean, because any fool can criticise. You don't need any talent or ability to.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So the D9s. Again, they can have 7 or 8 different colours on it. So from a modelling point of view,
considering the D9s were one of those aircraft that was made in like so many different areas of Germany.
That's right. Yeah.
The engines were made in one part of Germany, the wings were made in another part of Germany, the fuselage was made in another part of Germany, the undercarriage was made somewhere else.
Yep. And what Cranwell did, and they're large, expensive books, and apparently they're out of print now. What he did was take every known photograph of the certain aircraft, and all of his research came from that. So they narrowed it. They looked at the whir mark, so the serial number on the tail, narrowed it down to where it was built, and they looked at them and they could see that they were painted differently. But if they came from the same factory, it was quite obviously only 2 people were painting them.
Yep.
The other thing with the Luftwaffe aircraft, they're always different on either side. So you see a lot of modelers try to replicate exactly the same.
Oh yeah,
on both sides.
mirror. They try to mirror the.
But it's never the same,
No.
and you can see aircraft where they're completely different, and they've used a different style or their own, not their own signature, but their own style of how they put the model on, or whatever colour it is. Yeah, yeah. So
makes you wonder if there was like, I'll do this side, you do that side kind of thing, and they met at the tail. You know.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
That's what they did. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. So look, it's a wonderful subject because. Can I talk technically?
Please
I'm
do.
sure we'll have some listeners. That
Oh, absolutely, yes.
See the theatre band on the
Yep.
on the under the wings or on the tail, that was done at the factory because they knew where the aircraft was going.
Yep.
So that might be yellow, well, RLM 04. But what happened is when it was in the field and they put the technical markings on, that yellow would never match. They're always different. So again, when you see modelists, they try to match the white or the green or the blue perfectly to the spinner. They were never the same hue or the same colour. So from a modelling point of view, it's fun to do that as well. They can be a little bit different. And
Just add that little extra to the kit.
Yep, yep. And with the D9 and the D11, in the last 10 years, we've just found out that underneath was natural metal.
Yes, yeah.
And,
the centre section of the wings were natural metal.
Yeah, yeah,
Unpainted.
yeah.
Occasionally
yeah,
a bit of red primer here and there.
Yeah. And once, and they were talking about the in the fuselage, they added a plug to the D9, and sometimes it was unpainted.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're telling you what colour it should be, now we're not sure. It's either RLM 74, or it could be 75, or it could be natural metal. And I thought, how could they make that mistake? So I painted it. And what I did is I moved it around, and under different colour, it looks like natural metal. So on a scale model, you can move it around, and that's why we don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyone says you've done it wrong, don't believe them.
And a lot of those aircraft, they were messy. They weren't painted neatly. Like if you really want to have a good look at an original, for example, original Messerschmitt 109, they've got one of the Canberra War Memorial here in Australia. And when you see this aircraft up close, it is a mess.
Well, you can understand that these aircraft weren't built like we build F-35s now, and the expectation is the F-35 is going to last 35, 40 years.
Yep.
Goodness sakes, the F-18s that we're flying have lasted 30 years. The Canadian Air Force is even buying our old ones. They're going to stretch theirs out to nearly 40 years.
Yep.
World War II, they built them knowing,
6 months, tops.
Well, look at the engines on the ME-262. 10 hours before you have to totally strip them down and rebuild them.
Yeah.
Aircraft just weren't expected to last
In wartime.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
Well,
Yes.
Exactly.
The American Jeep was made to last for 3 months. That was it. That was its life expectancy.
We could take your hat off to the reenactors who are driving around now then, don't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Totally agree. Totally agree, mate. Yeah.
Well, look, that's been really interesting to have
It's been
you
a
in,
great
Steve.
conversation,
And
yeah.
yeah, we're going to have to definitely get you in to have a chat about the 109s because that sounds really interesting. And if you can dive down in as much detail as the 109s as you have with the 190s, it's going to be another great show, I think.
Yeah,
So,
totally agree.
thanks very much for coming along.
Thanks for having
Yeah.
me. I'm on it.
Yep.
We're well up for time now, so
Oh, good.
we don't get any complaints about us going over the hour.
No,
so
people
I
enjoy
think-
it when we go
yeah,
a bit longer than normal.
Absolutely. So before we go, again, thanks very much, Steve.
Thanks for
Don't forget, guys, that this show is fortnightly. So if you're hanging out for another fix of modelling podcasts, pop over to those crazy Canadians over at Scale Model Podcast. Our good friend Stuart over there who's running a show, and he runs on the off week to our week. So just do a search on iTunes, Google Play for Scale Model Podcast, and you'll come across them. Okay, parting words from Ian.
Model on.
From Julian.
It's probably best if you don't procrastinate. Just get on with it.
What about yourself, Steve? Any parting words?
Please, modelers, just enjoy what you're doing.
That's it. Most important.
All right, guys, we'll see you in a fortnight. Catch you later. So I've got my mic on.
Your mic's a bit loose. There's a little... On this side, yep. You just tighten that up a bit. And
Oh, that's working well.
what's that?
Oh, the sound check level.
Check 1, 2.
Yep, that's good.
Blah, blah, blah.
Can you do that again, Julian?
Blah, blah, blah.
Go check one, check one.
Check one, check one, check one.
Yeah, okay, I've got you. Now, if you can go in.
Check 1, 2, 3.
Beautiful. And
So-
Steve.
How am I sounding?
Oh, you're going to come up a lot. I'm going to make you deeper.
Oh no, he's going to play with the mixer.
Stand by.
We're in trouble. So you don't need to whisper. Just as we're talking.
Talk as normal.
Talk as normal. Yeah.
What a great little setup in here.
That's great.
It
isn't
is,
it?
yeah.
it's
I want to get some
terrific.
more pictures in the studio, actually. I'm
Where are you going to
terrific.
bloody put them?
I don't know.
On the ceiling.
Well, I could do. We could lay on our backs and do the recording and look up at the ceiling.
Get beanbags.
It's beanbags the studio. That's a good idea.
Oh.
At least Julian can't break it.
Well, that's true. Not like the other seat.
But we do know that one day you're going to be sitting there for the next few hours just picking up beans.
Julian had such a fat ass that he came and sat in one of these seats and broke it about 4 months ago.
Look, and there's nothing on
Yeah.
him. Have a look.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
And we'll never let him forget it either.
Yep.
It was the only seat that has that didn't have metal legs like these ones do. This one doesn't have
That's
metal
Julian's
legs
excuse anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think what it was, I was leaning to the side to see who I was talking to, and it just went, it just broke under the weight of leaning too much to one side.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And
Right on.
a combination of structural fatigue.
Or a combination of you got a fat ass.
Oh, right, yeah.
If you haven't got it yet, Steve, we muck around a lot.
Well,
We
that's
do.
good.
Have you heard the
Please do.
podcast before?
I haven't. I'm going to listen to all of them, but I haven't had a chance.
Well, you've got
I haven't had a chance.
42 to listen to.
This is
now.
number
Okay.
42.
And
Yeah,
look,
it
I would imagine there'd be quite a few people that I know too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a fair few.
Yeah.
Mind you, the first 10 are very ordinary.
Yeah.
Well, because we
We
just
didn't know what we were doing.
Well,
Yeah.
you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah. All right. I think.
And they are the most amazing things I have ever.
are they like the
They're very.
display and the Meng ones?
Is it the one where it's a bit like a blunt,
it's-
flat one, and then one sharp one that comes in like
no.
this?
It's two very sharp, incredibly sharp
Okay.
edges, and when you cut down on it, it doesn't push the force through. You know how
Yes. Yeah,
normal
yeah.
sword. I've only ever used from Bunnings.
Yep.
And you break that, but this is amazing. There's no force through it,
Yep.
and they're incredibly sharp and incredibly expensive as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bought the Meng ones, and they were about 60 odd bucks.
As did I think. Yeah.
But the thing you got to
Yep.
watch with them, because they're so long and pointy, always cut as deep as you can. And because if you cut too much at the end, if you get too big a sprue, you can snap them.
Yeah. Also, like when you're cutting through thick material, when it does give way, it'll snap together, and you can break the tip because the tip will meet before the middle.
Yep.
I've got a bit of control over mine because of the spring mechanism in it. So I've got a little bit
I
of control.
actually keep one finger on the inside, so that it.
Don't do that. I'll pinch your finger if you do that.
I'd rather pinch my finger than break my nippers. Those things
We spoke about
In
the tiger
48.
moth in 148 scale last week. I'm sure of it.
Did we? I can't
Yes,
I can't remember.
I do.
remember. Okay.
I can go back and pull the episode. We can replay it.
I'm not disputing either side here. I have too terrible a memory to remember something like that.
We spoke about the 148 scale tiger moth.
I
We
walk
spoke
out of this
about the-
recording room and it's just whoop, over my shoulder. It's gone.
Because I said a Buccaneer would be really good in 172nd scale to go against my Phantom, but I can't buy it because I said no, I can't buy any more kits this year.
No, we haven't talked about it.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Yep, I'm sure
You know
we
why?
Why?
Because when Ian posted up the tiger moth, I remember saying I have opinions on this.
Oh, maybe we
Yes.
spoke about it on Facebook.
Yep.
All right, let me bring
See?
up Airfix and we'll have a chat about that.